Car dealers recently made headlines when they unexpectedly unveiled new pricing practices that sent shockwaves through the automotive market. The changes came as a surprise to many buyers who had believed that the process of purchasing a vehicle was already convoluted enough. Suddenly, what was once a straightforward transaction turned into a maze of hidden fees, abrupt changes in financing options, and unexpected trade-in devaluations. The revelation of these practices prompted buyers to question the integrity of the industry, and it has sparked debates about fairness, transparency, and consumer rights. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The event unfolded in a way that many observers found both dramatic and unsettling. Buyers, many of whom had planned their budgets and financing well in advance, were confronted with a barrage of additional costs that had not been mentioned during earlier stages of negotiation. The sudden imposition of these fees seemed calculated to catch customers off guard, creating an atmosphere of mistrust and frustration. It was as if the dealers had been holding back vital information until the very last moment, a tactic that has been likened to a high-stakes gamble where the house always wins. This calculated move, however, has put the dealers themselves in a precarious position, as the backlash from informed and outraged buyers now reverberates throughout the community. The implications of these actions are significant, and they reach far beyond the immediate sphere of car sales. At the heart of the issue is a growing sentiment among consumers that they are being misled by entities that should be trusted to provide honest, transparent service. The incident has shown a light on practices that many feel should be re-examined under the lens of consumer protection. The automotive industry, long accustomed to operating within a framework that allows for certain customary fees and practices, now finds itself at a crossroads. The current situation calls into question not only the ethics of these pricing strategies, but also the sustainability of the business model that has been in place for decades. The reaction among buyers has been immediate and intense. Consumers who had already committed their savings and arranged for loans have suddenly found themselves in a position where the final cost of their vehicle far exceeds their original expectations. Many of these buyers feel that they have been treated unfairly, with a sense of betrayal that undermines their confidence in the dealership's commitment to honest dealing. This feeling of betrayal has the potential to ripple through the market as word-of-mouth accounts and social media discussions spread the story of these deceptive practices. As more buyers share their experiences, the pressure mounts on the dealers to justify their actions and, if possible, to make amends. Behind the scenes, dealership management faces a challenging dilemma. On one hand, these pricing practices may have been implemented as a short-term strategy to boost profits and cover rising operational costs in a rapidly changing market. On the other hand, the long-term cost of damaging consumer trust can be enormous. The balance between maintaining profitability and ensuring that buyers feel respected and valued is a delicate one. If dealerships continue to operate with opaque pricing structures, they risk not only losing customers, but also facing potential regulatory scrutiny. This tension between profit margins and ethical practices is now under the microscope, as both industry insiders and consumer rights advocates examine the broader implications of such business strategies. Another significant dimension of this situation is the impact on the reputation of the automotive industry as a whole. The sudden disclosure of hidden fees and unfavorable trade-in practices has fueled skepticism about the entire car buying process. Potential customers are now more cautious, approaching dealerships with a heightened level of suspicion. This shift in consumer behavior could force dealers to rethink how they present their pricing and financing options. The challenge lies in creating a system that remains profitable while also regaining the trust of a public that is increasingly well-informed and less willing to accept vague or misleading information. The event has also spurred a broader discussion about the ethics of sales tactics in a modern market environment. The notion that customers must navigate a labyrinth of additional charges in order to secure a fair deal has led to calls for increased regulatory oversight. Advocacy groups and consumer protection agencies are beginning to demand that car dealers adopt more transparent practices. The goal is to ensure that buyers have access to all the relevant information up front, thereby allowing them to make truly informed decisions. Such demands have the potential to transform the industry, creating a new norm, where transparency and honesty are not optional extras, but integral components of the sales process. Industry analysts have noted that the pressure to adopt fairer practices is growing, driven in part by the digital age where information is readily available. Buyers can now compare prices, read reviews, and share their experiences online in ways that were not possible in the past. This increased flow of information is forcing dealerships to re-examine long-held practices that may have been acceptable in a less connected world. The digital revolution has empowered consumers, giving them the tools to challenge outdated and unfair practices. As a result, car dealers are compelled to adopt new strategies that prioritize clarity and fairness, even if it means sacrificing some of the profit margins that they have grown accustomed to. The broader economic context also plays a role in understanding the implications of these practices. With fluctuating interest rates and an unpredictable economic climate, buyers are already cautious about making large financial commitments. The additional, unexpected costs imposed by dealers only serve to exacerbate these concerns. In a time when many families are already struggling with the financial strain of rising living costs, the idea of hidden fees can feel like a betrayal of trust. This sentiment is likely to have a lasting impact on consumer behavior, prompting many to delay or reconsider their decisions to purchase new vehicles. The ripple effects of this shift in consumer confidence could influence not only individual dealerships, but also the overall health of the automotive market. One cannot ignore the psychological impact on buyers who have been caught off guard by these tactics. The feeling of being deceived or misled can be deeply unsettling, particularly when significant financial decisions are at stake. This sense of disillusionment is not limited to one demographic or socioeconomic group. It resonates across the board. Buyers from all walks of life, regardless of their financial acumen, can feel the sting of discovering that the true cost of a vehicle was masked by hidden charges. The emotional toll of this realization can be as significant as the financial burden, eroding the trust that underpins the relationship between buyer and seller. This breakdown in trust has broader implications for how consumers interact with service providers across various sectors. For dealers, the challenge now lies in navigating the fallout from these practices while attempting to salvage their reputations. The actions taken by the dealerships, whether motivated by short-term financial pressures or a deliberate strategy to maximize profits, have set off a chain reaction that reaches far beyond the confines of a single transaction. The situation has underscored the critical importance of transparency in fostering lasting relationships with buyers. Without a foundation of trust, the entire process of buying a car can become fraught with tension and uncertainty, ultimately leading to a decline in customer satisfaction and loyalty. This realization is prompting a reevaluation of long-established business practices and may serve as a catalyst for change within the industry. The event has sparked a vigorous debate among industry experts about the long-term viability of these pricing strategies. Some argue that the short-term gains achieved by imposing hidden fees are overshadowed by the long-term costs associated with eroding consumer trust. Others contend that the competitive nature of the automotive market leaves dealers with little choice but to implement aggressive pricing tactics in order to survive. This debate highlights the complexity of the modern marketplace, where the imperatives of profit and customer satisfaction are often at odds. It is a delicate balancing act, one that requires a nuanced understanding of both market dynamics and human behavior. There is also an important discussion to be had about the role of consumer education in this evolving scenario. As buyers become more aware of the tactics employed by car dealers, there is a growing need for comprehensive educational resources that explain the intricacies of automotive financing and pricing. Such resources can empower buyers to ask the right questions and demand a higher level of transparency. In an era where misinformation can spread as quickly as reliable data, educating consumers about their rights and the realities of the car buying process becomes even more critical. This push for education is likely to influence not only individual transactions, but also the broader regulatory landscape, as policymakers seek to protect consumers from predatory practices. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on car dealers dropping bombshells on buyers? Did they deserve it? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.